And if you thought Australia's relationship with the United States was on shaky ground already, Anthony Albanese may just have caused a tectonic shift with a keynote speech in Sydney last night. The Prime Minister used the John Curtin oration to set out what he's dubbed the Australian way under Labor. Albanese referenced the former Prime Minister and how he'd resisted pressure from Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt to divert Australian troops to Burma following the fall of Singapore.
Curtin's famous statement that Australia looked to America was much more than the idea of trading one strategic guarantor for another, or swapping an alliance with the old world for one with the new. It was a recognition that Australia's fate would be decided in our region.
The remarks come as the PM seems to have all but given up on securing a tariff exemption with the US. Shadow Trade Minister Kevin Hogan called him out on that this morning.
Well, I think he's waving a white flag, Andrew. I mean, our Prime Minister, it is embarrassing, Andrew, that our Prime Minister has not been able to secure a physical meeting. I think initially it wasn't a priority of his. Now he seems to be struggling to get one.
Evelyn, is this a case of the Prime Minister just trying to disguise his embarrassment? He hasn't been able to get a meeting. He hasn't been able to get even a phone call since the tariff threat started. Do you think he's just trying to pretend, that's not a big deal, we don't need them anyway?
Look, when you're looking at world leaders, you look at figures like Trump, you look at figures, like previous, global sort of leaders, you think they've got a really strong arm. I just don't think Albanese gives off those vibes. He just doesn't. And when he tries to, it looks very scripted, very acting. But I think what this tells us is that the problem is Albanese hasn't been able to convince Trump that he's relevant and that this should be one of his priorities. But also, and I don't like to defend Albanese. I feel like I need to throw up a little bit. I know Joe can stand with me in solidarity over this. But I do also think it's important to note that Trump has got a lot going on in his corner of the world at the moment. And so, I think that's where Albanese's job is, to try and convince Trump that this is actually an important meeting. We are very relevant and this is what we have to offer. You should be talking to us. And that's what he's failing at doing. So,
But Kel, and that's fair, but this speech, it just seemed to just suggest that the US are not as important to us anymore, that we should move away from that. And I think I fear that's what Trump and his administration will hear, and it's going to have an impact on our relationship.
I have the same fear. There are two things to notice. One is, I think there's a bit of a three-card trick going on. If you look at the text of his speech, John Curtin was a great Prime Minister, and he made the decision that our future alliance needs to be with the United States and has been ever since. Whereas the way that Albanese reported it, well, no, it wasn't a switch from Britain to America. It was a switch to our decisions will be made in this region, not by us. We cannot defend this country. Without an American alliance, we are lost. We are Chinese fodder. So to that extent, it's a bit of a trick that he's trying to pretend that he's representing Curtin in saying, no, we don't need America all that much. The other big issue is there's only two superpowers in the world. There's only America and China, two big spheres of influence. China is going to like what Albanese said. America will dislike it. We should be worried about that. Albanese is about to go and see Xi Jinping for the fourth time, when he hasn't seen Trump once. I think we should be concerned about that. There is a long history in the Labor Party of a fragment of the Labor Party that is very anti-American. I can remember from the 1960s onwards, that part of the Labor Party that was against the American alliance, was against Pine Gap, was against American bases, was against American Air Force aircraft being based in Northern Australia. They've been anti-American for decades.